All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to TGI, formerly The Great Indoors, currently just TGI. You can make up your own abbreviation. This week, I'm going to go with Tyrannosaurus Goofball Inquisitors. So that's what we're here to do. My name, if you don't know me, is Ridge Creswell. I am an audiobook narrator, audio person, and creative human being, normally living in New York, currently staying in the wilds of Connecticut because coronavirus. And also, trees are nice, turns out. Anyway, today we have four wonderful people to read for us, and first and foremost among them is someone who is very close to me, both metaphorically and literally, in the sense that she is, I'm gonna guess 18 feet away from me right now, and in the sense that we are a couple. Treena, it is her birthday. So she has successfully made another trip around the sun, and she is wielding her significant TGI influence to read today. I'm just kidding. She can read anytime she wants. Any of you can, really. It's not really that formal, though, you know, we like to schedule things, so maybe don't just like come on and try to read immediately. Anyway, I'm talking far too much. So I think in honor of the birthday girl, I'm going to read a bio. And, oh, this is an important point. This is something I always forget to say. The format of the show is basically as follows. We have four readers. They will read for probably 10 or 15 minutes. Afterwards, I will usually make some sort of response. I am not a literary critic. I'm not a writer. I'm not an educated. I'm like educated, but not in this. But I just found that I have to say something because otherwise we end up awkwardly segueing from someone's deep emotional work to someone else's deep emotional work without the sort of moment of grounding. So I'll say something, maybe ask you a question, and we'll throw it back over to the next writer. And I just want to say very clearly, we are endeavoring to be as inclusive as possible. If I say the wrong thing, if I misuse a pronoun, a word, anything that people find questionable or offensive, please just correct me. I'm not going to get mad. Just tell me. It's fine. This is how we work on stuff. So I just wanted to put that out. I have already, for those of you who may have listened to the podcast, I've already corrected something I said on a podcast by accident that I felt later to be sexist. So I think just tell me what's going on. That's all. Thank you. All right. With that said, I really want to make a really horrible joke about Treena, but I won't. I'm a good person. All right. With that said, July 24th, 2020, birthday of Treena Thibodeau. Treena is the creator of the virtual reading series TGI, which you are on right now. Her work has appeared in The Rumpus, The Atticus Review, Volume 1 Brooklyn, Newtown Literary, and Lunch Ticket, and her fiction has received generous support from the Vermont Studio Center and the Tin House Summer Conference. She holds an MFA from Columbia University. Without any further ado, Treena Thibodeau.
Hi, guys. I am so nervous that, my lips are sticking to my teeth. I feel like every week people come on here and they seem very calm. I'm just always impressed by the writers that we have on here. I'd like to start out by thanking Ridge for hosting TGI every Friday. And I really want to express my absolute deep appreciation for the creators and the supporters who make this show possible. Thank you. All right, tonight I'm reading a piece of creative nonfiction, and it's called Lost Cat. You are not doing enough. This announcement goes out at regular intervals over the PA system inside the cramped fitting room of my skull. You are not doing enough. I'm supposed to be meditating, but instead I'm dress rehearsing conversations with people who now only exist inside of glowing rectangles. Visualize, sending my breath out. Think about viruses, try to pull just my own droplets back in. Sometimes it helps if I visualize a cat's tail sliding through my fingers. I don't have a cat, so I mentally borrow my sister's. If no one is around to hear, I'll screw headphones into the sockets of my ears and sing along with kirtan recordings, making a mess of the Sanskrit. I sing loud enough, maybe I'll call monsters out of the lake. This week, a creature that is not a goose, but is definitely the result of something a goose fucked, landed on the water and is now on patrol. We nicked this house too. A family member's rural getaway in a part of Connecticut called the Quiet Corner. We came here the week the morgue trucks came to Queens and have remained since, possessions spreading in the cabin like a spill. I thought I would feel lost here in the woods, so far from the familiar grid of home, but I do not. Squirrels get into the frame of this house and chase shelter, and I put out a catch and release trap, but they are too wily for it. Like the creatures on the lake, I circle. I take long walks on dirt roads, upsetting the local dogs, loudly FaceTiming friends back in New York. A neighbor asks my partner when we are leaving. Our mail carrier hurls our packages into the bushes. I'm walking, and a long-haired black cat comes to investigate, arching its back like a dolphin under my hand. I take her picture. The next time I see her, she's on a poster. Lost cat. Last seen July 8th, according to the Sharpie. There is a photograph. Why do cats always look so miserable in pictures? This one apparently answers to the name of Sassy. I text the photo I took to the number on the poster and get an OMG, thank you in response. The cat I stopped to pet was someone's lost family member, but I didn't know. I just walked away. It bothers me, the missed opportunity at a rescue. I go out looking for her with the last of the shelf-stable quarantine tuna. I just want to find this cat. In the fall, I will leave here, return to teaching on the Lower East Side. My 7th graders will slip their masks up their faces until they are blindfolded. They will stick pencils out of them like tusks. I'll push supplies to kids with a yardstick, sheltering behind a plexiglass shield while I learn their names. I just want to rescue Sassy. When the kids use that word, sassy, I can't tell if it's a compliment or an insult. In March, I bailed on my city, and by June, the NYPD was kettling protesters on the Manhattan Bridge and setting off fireworks to keep everyone awake. You are not doing enough. I hoist my beliefs on flimsy cardboard through the calmly disciplined protests in Hartford and write checks, listen to podcasts. You're not doing enough. I want to do one good thing. I want to find this fucking cat. The Connecticut State Forest borders the road, deep, full of hawks and owls, fisher cats. I stand in front of this impenetrable mass of thorns and poison ivy and wave the packet of tuna like a dowsing rod. The cat does not come. She is not in the tangled grove by the lake where we saw a truck with a Confederate flag that time. She is not in the family cemetery, which has exactly 9 graves belonging to deceased members of the Phillips family. I cannot find her in the lot where someone has knocked down all the trees with the intention of putting up houses. Everyone wants to move to the country. I will not find her, and I tried, is this weak, wet cardboard thing. When I finally see the cat, she is in front of the same exact house where I saw her last time, the house with the trampoline and chickens. She sits like she's waiting for the bus, one she's waited for since July 8th. I barely got my phone out, dialing the number from the poster, when a woman in a pickup truck pulls over and leaps out in gumboots. It's happening. We are going to have a moment. We cannot hug, of course, but I will watch her hug the cat, this cat that has somehow survived all the things out here that want to kill her. Sassy, the woman cries into me, thank you so much, we've been looking for her. I'm so glad you hung the posters, I say, and realize we're too close to one another. My calculation of 6 feet varies according to circumstances. I'm Treena, I say. I live down the road. And I do live here, sort of. We are alive, and this is where our mail gets chucked in the general direction of our house. Are you ready to go home? The woman asks. Not to me, but to the cat. Now I'm already writing this story in my head. Perhaps this woman is a Trump supporter, as so many of the homes here proclaim, eaves saggy with bunting, 2020 support signaled on their crew-cut lawns. But we will bridge our differences through a shared love of cats. The woman, whoever she is, has the cat in her arms, and I'm backing off. 6 feet, 7, but wanting to linger here where briefly I do not feel like a failure. I want to hear about how happy her children will be when she brings Sassy home. But the woman has a worried look on her face, stirring the patch of white fur on the cat's belly. Sassy doesn't have white. She looks at me. Are you sure? I ask. This isn't my cat. She sets it down. The cat flops bonelessly over and yawns. I almost put it in my truck. I almost stole someone's cat. We look at each other. We laugh awkwardly. I wish the woman could have just pretended that it was her cat until I had left. I walk away embarrassed by the tuna I am carrying. The cat is still lost. In the time we have left, I will keep an eye out for her. I will watch for movement in our bushes. When I hear thumps in the walls, I will wonder if she has somehow gotten inside the house. I am still hoping to do something good. Thank you.
Thank you. That was excellent. Obviously, it's interesting because I was here for much of that. I didn't go with Treena because I like air conditioning, and she's better than me. But yeah, you really, the desire to do good in the world is something that everyone is experiencing right now in varying ways, right? And people might be experiencing the word good as different, different values, but yeah, that story really speaks to the desire to find something in the midst of all of this that we can control and affect in a positive way, because there is so little that we can grab a hold of, right? And actually do that will fix something, I will say, though, just on a personal note, you do lots of things and you're always pretty much doing enough, just so you know. See, Jocelyn says yes. A bunch of people say yes. First of all, none of us would be here tonight if it wasn't for Treena, because she literally invented this thing. And I tell people this all the time because I end up being the face of it and I do the podcast and all this stuff. But really, she planned the whole thing. And then one day she was like, oh, and you should host it. And I sort of was like, okay, that's it. All of this network of people, this community, all of this is built on the back of Treena Thibodeau doing something. And I think that is more than enough. So, oh yeah. Why don't you unmute yourself? So Treena also just wanted to share a picture so that she could explain the confusion between the two cats.
I just feel like you guys need to see.
So on the left, we have Sassy, and on the right, we have the other cat.
Understandable.
Very much understandable, yes.
Easy mistake to make.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you, Treena, for sharing. Thank you for everything you've done to set this up. And after the show, Treena and I spent some time this week making a trivia game wherein the winner will receive, the number one winner receives books or a book. What's that? Top three people will receive books. So if you want free books and you want to answer weird questions about things like Florida and Star Wars, stick around. All right, moving swiftly on. Our next writer is a poet, and her name is Carlie Hoffman. Carlie Hoffman's debut poetry collection, This Alaska, is forthcoming from Four Way Books in autumn 2021. Carlie's second poetry collection will also be published with Four Way Books in 2023. A poet and translator, her honors include a 92nd Street Wide Discovery Poetry Prize and a Poets and Writers Amy Award. Her poems appear or are forthcoming in New England Review, Gulf Coast, Boston Review, Missouri Review, and elsewhere. Carlie is the founder and editor-in-chief of Small Orange Journal. Without any further, there she is. Without any further ado, Carlie, you can take it away.
Oh, thank you. And happy birthday, Treena, again. And I love the series is awesome. It's true that most things are, that are good are run by women. Oh, also MK, thank you for recommending me. Okay, I'm just gonna read 5 poems. Hope you guys can hear me. And I don't know, I don't really have much to say about them except this first one. My father, he was a captain in the Army during the Vietnam War, and he had this photo album that was, he had it and I looked at it when I was younger, and it was a very disturbing photo album. And so I don't know, that's where I was thinking about it recently. So I'm just gonna start with that one and move on from there, okay? A decade after looking at my father's photo album of Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, my mother shuts the front door of the house she doesn't own and nods to the grass for the last time. The radishes and oily flame she puts on her lipstick in the dark. My father, alone, drives through the fresh wind, mumbling the Anabacoak. He is religious now. His sister went blind young. His voice is the stray dog barking at the snow, believing the little strawberries grow wilder against a field. I point to Russia on the map. I point to Poland and Germany. It was another time. My people, another time. The synagogues burn decades of new snow. Then America. My father in the picture. His olive army hat, the photo album glowing like a severed shoulder of a man. This verging snow, it buries my mother and me. She shuts the front door. Summer brings no cash, I quit. The suburban town off the highway, I quit. The house ragging into oblivion, the hostess stand, I quit, I drop off menus one last time. I'm a handful of quits in the park. I read the newspapers, all about cold, I quit cold. I, a consequence, I run out of. I run out of clean underwear, clean hair, rain comes. I slam the door, turn back, I quit Shabbos. Quit Evelyn cutting pictures, wedding gown, purple flower, butchered magazines pouring out. Walls, drawers, laundry, boiled potatoes, chicken broth. I quit the bride, mouthed communal prayer, my beheaded tongue, Hebrew tongue, Russian tongue. I comprehend nothing, no, nothing. Summer fevers the trees, the anxious fish, no God is coming to quit. This one, it's about my grandfather. I never met him, but I don't know. I have stories and then I have some pictures of him, and so I tried to put a portrait together in a poem for him. Portrait of grandfather who dies early after World War II. The wild leaves have loosened along the town's avenue where my grandfather leans, soft-shouldered, against the cracking brick wall of his shop, his sunken eyes squinting in the white orb of October light, a calloused hand reaching for something living outside of the frame. The farm where his boyhood was buried is now a blue thread of smoke, a caged-off landscape of quavering bone. Autumn will never be infinite, but rather an omen, the weight of gold crests sucking the legs of pale spiders before they swallow, breathing in the stomach muscles, silk glands. All season he will not speak about the arteries clogging, the frail valves regurgitating. Here, the blood in his heart is leaking as though blood is water, sliding slowly down the spine from wet hair, after plunging in a cold and gleaming stream when he was, on young, just a boy. All right. I'll read this one. I miss going to museums. So this one's kind of about the MoMA, kind of not. End of February, after a panic attack. All year, the pigs hang by their fat calves, among the newspapers and plastic-wrapped flowers. The days paused inside the curve of hairless ears, curled toes like nerve endings. I promised I would walk to the park and stay until I was calm, but the wind stinks like cum from the ginkgos. Yesterday, I watched a woman possessed by grief at the museum, her hand floating toward a Van Gogh until security snapped her out of it, the crowd a purified gasp. She didn't jerk her head in horror, just straightened her shawl, mumbling, "Oh." Above the meat counter, the pig's eye is an integer for a gazebo-lit field. Stars like spiders stabbed above the track. Teenagers drunk and throwing glass. The metallic bark of them fucking beneath the bleachers. The field, a symbol of flesh. How can I live on love alone? Spring is close, but how can I sleep, knowing they're out there, awake all night, with their mouths wide open? And this is the last poem I'm going to read. I'm going to dedicate it to Anna Welsh, who's here, and it's called Bible Women, and she is my Bible woman. Like, if I had to choose, it would be Anna Welsh. She read for the series like a month ago, I think. Okay, thanks for listening. Bible Women. Every season is good for killing girls. The seaweed black night foaming with stars, a plaque of women's names. Before Mary's a whore, a baby is placed in the frozen bird of her lap, the dignity in being. Every place that hurts you is the season where the sun bursts like salmon on fire. Think of Eve shivering naked beneath the altar, watching God get angry. Is it anger or is it love? All of us doing what we've been trained to do. Thanks.
Wow, Carlie, thank you so much. Really beautiful work and such a range of emotions, I guess I would say, but still the thing that really I kept coming back to was this imagery of some sort of imagery of nature being used to describe something really overwhelming. Whether it was the weather, the snow, the rain, there was a mention of rain, I think, in the second one, and then even just the field that you sort of painted the picture of inside of a pig's eye. I also just really related to that one in particular because I too have had a panic attack in New York City, and it is a difficult environment to experience anxiety in. I'll say that, to say the least. And those sort of flashbulb moments and almost non sequitur thoughts, but then this incredible profundity that comes out of it. Like it just felt so real to me. And yeah, someone commented on a few of the lines there. I mean, the first line of your last poem is devastating in the best possible way. I think it was something like, was it all seasons are good for killing girls, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's if you want to just paint a picture of the problems of violence against women, it's like,
Yeah.
you can't, that's an image you can't run away from. So really just I can't emphasize enough, I guess, just the fullness of your work. That's really great. I really appreciate that you came and shared it with us. I'm feeling at the moment like I wish I had something more constructive to say, but I'm really, sometimes poetry, and I'm not, I'm sort of new at reading poetry, but sometimes poetry does this thing where it sneakily reaches sort of behind me and then into me and then like clenches a fist around my insides. And your work definitely accomplished that. So yeah. So you have a chapbook or a poetry collection coming out next year?
Yeah. Fall 2021.
Okay. Excellent. So we'll keep an eye out for that. And, thank you so much again for sharing. If you ever have anything coming out or anything like that, let us know and we will tout it heavily.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. Thanks. All right. Whew. I think Ron joined just now. So let me see if he's ready to go. There's Ron. Hello. All right. So our next reader is Ron A. Austin. His short stories have been placed in Pleiades, Story Quarterly, Ninth Letter, Black Warrior Review, and other journals. Avery Colt is a snake, a thief, a liar. His first collection of linked stories won the 2017 Nilson Prize, a 2019 Forward Indies Gold Award, and was longlisted for the 2020 Penn Robert W. Bingham Prize for a debut short story collection. Austin's work has garnered a 2016 Regional Arts Commission Fellowship and a special mention in the 2015 Pushcart Prize Anthology. With no further business from myself, Ron, you can take it away.
All right. Hey, everybody. I just realized that I did not take into account the time zones. So it looks like I'm right on time. I had to shower and put on some cologne because I know that's important in our virtual atmosphere. But thanks for having me on. This looks really awesome. So I'm going to read the introduction of a new short story tonight. I'll just kind of jump in there. There are some weird things going on. I don't know, stuff happens, but let's give it a shot. This one is Brand New Plagues for Everybody. A mean hex mutated every sorry scrap of junk inside Three Kings pawn shop. Merchandise took on nasty, animalistic aspects. Nothing could be salvaged. Best believe me. I'm saying slimy water hoses slithered and shed snake skin. Microphones grew burly gorilla fur. Cordless power drills bucked warthog tusk. Tangled beef guts exploded from microwaves like spring-loaded confetti. Leaf blowers with thick elephant trunks. Braided gold chains flex tough bodybuilder veins. The sound of old folks coughing crackled from phlegm-spitting bass speakers. Blood and snot splattered clean display cases. Bee stink headbutted my nose. I peeped that repugnant mess and bugged out. I'd been a grunt/bodyguard and more at Three Kings for forever. A ruined pawn shop would ruin me. I couldn't afford to change lanes and start over. I prayed for forgiveness and chain smoked 3 cigarettes back to back to back. But Effie, the high and mighty Miss Boss Lady, she didn't trip. Since Miss Boss Lady was the new owner of Three Kings, she had to prove herself competent. She couldn't flinch at high-powered hood shit, fistfights, attempted robberies, or crooked-ass cops. It looked like she wouldn't let supernatural assaults break her back either. Bargain bin black magic could be copped at any corner store in this time of signs and wonders. Canned sacrificial lamb, extra strength antifungal atonement ointment, and everlasting sardine tins set next to snacks and aspirin. Any chump could cast a brutal spell quicker than popping popcorn, smack enemies with festering boils. Though this shit was brand new. Salty poltergeist swaggered inside big screen TVs. Designer purses pursed unrepentant lips. Brain matter clouded cubic zirconia. Antique revolver sneezed gunpowder. Disgruntled chainsaws growled threats. Shelves rattled and Effie didn't say boo. She didn't stumble. She didn't sweat out her finger waves. She didn't drop her clipboard. Didn't bust one wrinkle in her frumpy, armor-plated blazer. She kept right on taking inventory with that tired look on her face, as if it was any other Saturday morning, as if beetle-winged brooches weren't circling her head. I couldn't believe that fronting-ass, phony baloney act. To tell the whole truth, I never liked Effie from the jump. I tried advising Miss Wannabe after she inherited 3 kings from Uncle Zeke, Lord rest his trifling, rotting, greedy soul. The man would have snatched his own grandmama's wig, braided it, dyed it, and sold it right back to her. As she was the niece of the man who had employed me for years, I felt obliged to show her the basics, hip her to that good game. I told her to think about expansion and real money moves, flipping payday loans and classic cars. She hit me back with every buzzword she learned from earning a degree in nonprofit management. Ungrateful as could be, she rattled off nonsense about social equity and ethical businesses. Next, she told me possibly the 3rd dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. She told me she didn't want more profit. She wanted to turn 3 Kings into a secondhand shop / low-key charity, decked out with a canned good drive, debt forgiveness, and educational seminars on economics and building generational wealth. Now, I didn't get disrespectful. I didn't talk over her head, but I did keep it real. I told her what Zeke told me. Nobody likes pawnbrokers. This is the business of the quick and the dead. Pawnbrokers cut steak from misfortune, crunch pennies out of family heirlooms, and no amount of goodwill can spark cold furnaces, bend prison bars, restart dead engines, cast out cancer, or replace the dollar almighty amen. I offered to hash out our differing life philosophies over a bottle of Paul Masson at Empire Lounge, but she wouldn't listen to what I had to say. She told me fraternization between management and employees would be untenable at best. Then she put that extra little funk on it, talking about organizational restructuring, and had the nerve to make it sound like I was lucky enough to keep my goddamn job. Effie didn't respect me, and I couldn't blame her. She didn't know how I came up off the muscle. She didn't know me back from when I used to rock rat-eating t-shirts and socks, back when I used to mow lawns for nothing but a damn can of Frank and beans, back when I scraped change out of the gutter, back when I used to chew cuticles bloody, back when roaches squatted in my sneakers, back when I had to teach myself the oldest, truest magic, how to turn something out of nothing, pull $1 out of 15 cents. On God. It's easy for folks to mistake a career pawn shop grunt as shiftless, as a man who turns whatever he touches into trash. It's easy to be overlooked, and I thought about making her see me. I thought about quitting in a rage, cussing her out, spitting on her polished shoes. But I bit my tongue and let it be. I know the smart man has got to get along to go along, even if it rips out his goddamn heart. And that's it. That's the introduction of a story. Some other stuff happens, and is there a happy ending? Who knows?
Wow, Ron, thank you so much. That was awesome. I mean, people's reactions, just almost every line, really hitting some sort of truth about the world with this sort of magical element thrown in. And, you know, the interesting thing about obviously sort of stories with magic in them in popular culture, at least for the past, I don't know, 25 years or whatever, is for some reason people got really hooked on like obviously everybody knows why, but for some reason people got really hooked on British prep schools, right? Like as though the rest of the world doesn't exist, you know, in these sort of, and so hearing the problems our societies have and hearing the, you know, the problems people who live in, you know, or live in a neighborhood people don't want to go to, work in a store people think is dirty or, you know, seedy, pawn shop is such a perfect setting to talk about culture in a way. And to do that, like, just you really nailed it. And really the rhythm of your writing and reading as well is just so engaging. Like that was awesome. So this is part of a short story?
Yeah, this is so I'm working on a new short story collection. It looks like it'll be a similar connected collection. I'm trying out a few different things, but essentially, I'm not sure this story mentions it, but it the main conceit is that there's a new interdimensional conglomerate named Catacombs Incorporated that comes into a neighborhood and introduces new industries and services, creates jobs and things like that, which so I grew up in North St. Louis, and North St. Louis and East St. Louis, there's an effect where after the industrialization boom passed, then it left the economies in our area depressed. So then, you know, there's a lot of talk about revitalization. And of course, you know, like when I go back to my old neighborhood, I see different parts of it disappearing, you know, just literally like gone, or, you know, a shop you always used to visit is just a field now. And so there's always talk of revitalization. And of course, it's one of my personal wishes. And there are even some, you know, every few years, there's a project that rolls through that promises to create jobs and to make change. And it doesn't usually work out that way. So I was taking kind of that real life absurdity of that, and then just kind of, instead of using metaphors to tell a story, just making the metaphors real and then moving forward from there.
That's awesome. I think really, you know, at its best, I guess you could say this about fiction in general, but particularly sort of genre-ish fiction, like whether it's, you know, science fiction, fantasy elements, things like that. They're at their best when they're just pointing at something really real. So, you know, that's, I think that's an issue so many places in America are dealing with, and probably more will too. So to be talking about it now and talking about it in a way that is engaging, entertaining, and interesting is fantastic. So that's awesome. I really look forward to reading the rest of this someday.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyway, thank you, Ron. We will move right along to our last reader tonight. Sorry, the notes that I have, the bio starts with, here's a bio. I kind of want to read it that way. Indulge me. Here's a bio. Ruth Baumann is the author of poetry collections Thornwork, Black Lawrence Press 2020, and Parse, Black Lawrence Press 2018. She's also the author of 5 chapbooks, including 1,000 Ars Poeticas, 6th Finch, 2018, and I'll Love You Forever and Other Temporary Valentines, Salt Hill, 2015. She holds a PhD from Florida State University and an MFA from the University of Memphis. Ladies and gentlemen, Ruth, take it away.
Thanks. Did I unmute that right? Is that working? Okay. Thanks for having me, and happy birthday to our host, and I guess any of the rest of y'all got birthdays. Happy birthday. Yeah, and I liked what I've heard so far. I just kind of got distracted thinking about pawn shop experiences and like almost didn't choose poems. But yeah, I was gonna read a couple of poems from my book that just came out, and then a couple of recent ones, and I have no concept of time right now, days or anything in quarantine, so hopefully that's 10 minutes. Anyway, so this is a book, it just came out, it has cool art on it, and yeah, if I get interrupted, I have like a foster kitten that's screaming all the time, so she's just trying to be a poet too, I guess. All right, so this one is called Short Sleeve Weather. So I broke a thicket in the house, so I laid fresh across it like a prophet. Once, no metaphor, I came in from the woods with my legs remade red. I was young, I hadn't felt a thing. Once my father cut the ends off his fingers, and having forgotten to take the fingertips to the hospital, left them in the yard for the foxes, but I thought the deer would get there first. They say I mistook everything for a carnivore. Oh, but I knew how to open a bottle cap, how to bloody my knuckles, how to spin through creek wilds. Oh, I did it even when I sat, later, whiskey-brained and dead thin, listening to daytime owls, and letting X mark the stop that marked the spot that marked the summer I lost my body under a no in a man's dark heft. So that's really dark and I feel bad. We're gonna get more optimistic. And most of the fingers are fine now, in case you're worried. I'm not gonna go into that story. Okay, so this is called Some Yearning. I read a book where a man sees fruit ripening everywhere and forgives his missing parents, but my tendrils are so different, much starker. I often forget even to eat. I give myself away on coffee in the thin promise of usefulness, wishing I could be mist above a newborn sunrise, helping it split open gently. Forgive me, Earth, I keep trying to not be quite of you. There's a fullness to my heart when I stop calculating its emptiness, I know. But I so often hold myself to some kind of standard. Call it an unkindness of the self, call it the skeletons of a larger creature I keep forgetting I am not. Call after it, like a cat might call softly at the food bowl where his littermate used to eat, newly absent after a decade of unfathomable companionship. Call after me, like that. These Zoom readings are so weird. I miss like facial expressions. I'm just talking to myself. Okay, the other ones are on the computer, so I don't know why I told you that. All right, this is called Flight. I sleep through the morning. In the afternoon, a single bird cry, then another, but not overlapping. I say to a friend, I'd rather be alone forever than be in something so draining ever again. This forever has lasted 3 months so far, and it's nice in its own way. Part of me is still wounded, house sparrow pecking its ripped wings, but another part is heron, soaring over the Florida marsh, not looking for prey, not feeling any hunger or tangible appetite, just floating out there, untouchable and closer than ever to the heart of the sky. And then one more. I feel like all over the place thematically, but I don't know, we can live with that. All right, this is called On Reaching Outward. The world, like flowers severed from their stems, beautiful and grisly. It's always everything at once, the empathy and the power, the denial and the disdain. I'm trying to let my bones stretch, to forgive my head and yours and yours. Our knowledge is always incomplete, the spiritual teacher says. A call for restorative justice is also a call to eliminate the jailer in ourselves. If I see any human as less than human, somewhere and everywhere, the vast energy of the universe weeps. I saw someone say this is how we turn to clay rather than harden. We water ourselves with our own tears. I take it to mean we can look without breaking, or we can break over and over with the ache of what our species does to itself, but we can keep being put back together, keep seeing. A stranger talks about how art is full of pain. I think that story is half finished. The real art is uncovering the love and resilience underneath. The real art is staying there in that spot of connection and care, breathing there, building a tenderness there wide enough for more than just one. We're gonna say that's 10 minutes in some kind of time zone. Alternate universe, thank you.
That's fine. Oh my gosh, Ruth, thank you so much. Wow. I mean, you came, you don't have to, like people said in the chat, you'd never have to apologize for dark here, at least. We prefer real to happy if you have to give us the choice. Not that happy can't be real. That's not what I'm saying. But again, back to, I can only give my reaction, but back to my experience of poetry as sometimes just grabbing something inside me that I don't fully understand. Your second poem, there was a line you had in there about longing to be missed during a sunrise. And there was something about that is such an exquisite depiction of depression or unhappiness or something in my life. Maybe it's just me, but this idea of if only you could have the knowledge that for sure you mattered, right? And if only you could have a full understanding that someone would be thinking about you. It's a beautiful thought, and it really genuinely brought tears to my eyes for a moment. And then the final poem you read was so perfect for all the discussions that happen in the world right now. You know, clearly you've thought a lot about this and done a lot of work about it, and I think, you know, you don't have to pay us. It's free compliments here, but you know, that final poem, restorative justice, and then extending that idea to yourself, to your internal self, is incredible. And, you know, the chief lesson of my life, I would say, has been, and this bears more on something you said later in that poem, but the chief lesson of my life has been that when I was a kid, I was angry all of the time. I was just enraged constantly. And when you look a little bit under that and you grow up and you try and you dig around in it, you find out you're afraid of things. And then when you dig a little bit deeper than that, you find out you're just hurt. Something hurt you. And I heard a lot of that in there, in the sense of it's very easy to get stuck in rage and action and hatred and anger, you know, even what feels like righteous anger. And sometimes righteous anger is very helpful. It gets things done. People don't go out in the street and yell if there's no anger, right? But at the same time, allowing yourself those moments of softness and grief and pain and just experiencing it. I think what you said was it keeps us from becoming rock and keeps us clay, keeps us soft, malleable, healthy. All of those things is just such a beautiful sentiment, particularly right now when literally everyone hates the other half of everyone, is what it feels like. So thank you so much. That was really fantastic. And, you know, whether or not it was 10 minutes, I personally feel like I'm going to get days of thinking out of it. So that's really, you know, what matters. Thank you. And with that, that's all of our readers for tonight. We're a little bit early, but we have a couple things to talk about really quickly. I'm sorry I waggled my finger like that. It was weird. You know, having the little screen with me here, right here, really makes me conscious of what I do with my face and my body. I'm not sure. Anyways, thank you guys so much for coming. I'll say that first. This, you know, has fluctuated and started small, and it seems to be growing. And sometimes, you know, we've always had amazing contributors. Everyone who's come and read on here has been great. We've always had incredibly involved audience members. We've always had people suggested to us. So if you want to suggest someone you know, or you want to, you know, tell your friends about this or have them read, whatever, we're still taking, I think we're booked until the first week of August. Is that right? Yeah. And we're not going anywhere. There's no reason to go anywhere. I don't know, maybe we go back to the city, maybe we go back to work, things like that. But like, there's nothing saying we can't still do this on a Friday night. And I have a feeling we're going to be in and out of social distancing for a while. So if you know someone who you think might be a good fit, send them along. We've had so many referrals. You know, the number of people I'm looking at right now in little boxes who, like, I can draw the lines from like friend of a friend of a friend like that to how we got everybody here is awesome. Because the thing that we were missing when coronavirus started is community, is the ability to be there with people. And this, even though it's essentially, I'm sitting at a desk talking to what looks like a giant Brady Bunch-like display of people's faces, I feel like I'm with people right now. And to get that feeling once a week for a few hours is invaluable. So please send more people our way. Please send lots of your friends, your relatives, your anybody our way. You can also, thank you very much. I tried to bring things together. I appreciate it. I got a nice compliment in the chat. Thank you, Courtney. Anyways, if for anyone else who's interested, we have a podcast. We're on episode 4 today. It's on Spotify and a few other platforms. Apple is still not approved it yet. when they do, I'll let you know. It's called TGI. You can look for basically it's got trees. You'll see it. Jason Villamez, who I believe is listening in tonight, was my guest this past week. Also had previous people who are here right now, MK Foster, Jamie, and Yaley. So I think everybody's here that I've interviewed. I'm going to keep that going. Regarding recordings of the show, they will be available on YouTube shortly. We're trying to work out a couple things, and if anyone has something that's going to be published that they don't want us to put on YouTube, just tell me and I can edit around stuff if we need to. That's a lot of words. I just said a lot of logistics stuff after like a really nice emotional moment. I got to work on how I do this, but everything is progress, right? So with that, we're going to play a trivia game in a minute. I'm hoping I get to read out the answers. Is it a Kahoot?
Yes.
It's a Kahoot. I don't know what that is, but I'm excited. I only want to read out the answers because there's one that I wrote that I find incredibly amusing, and I'm selfish. So we'll see. Maybe we'll do this. But stick around, answer some questions, win a couple books. The top 3 people will get a book out of it. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. Thanks to our readers. Thanks to everybody. Not enough words for gratitude here. So with that, I'm going to hit unmute all. Oh, wait, can I only mute all? Apparently you can unmute yourselves. I'm sorry.
Hooray!